Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number, drumroll please, I don't remember.
30-something.
It's not 30-something. 45
Oh, shit, I was
of the
off.
NordCast. It is Thursday, February 8th, 2024. Sorry for that, by the way. I am your host here, Nordic 97, joined with Carter, who's in the car for this episode. So, car episodes with Carter. That's what we're calling this episode today.
This is car talk. Car talk with Carter.
So, if you guys watch the 32 Thoughts podcast, Elliot Friedman a lot of the time is in his car. So, Carter, minus the good looks,
minus the
good insight,
minus the NHL expertise,
minus just about everything you need to be an NHL insider. He's Elliot Friedman for today's show.
I wish.
So, anyways, there's no denying it's been a while since we were last recorded an episode. The last episode we uploaded was January 5th. So, it has been a good while since our last episode. And that was mainly because me, Carter, and Jack had a very busy month of January. There were a lot of weeks where we would either forget to record, or we would have work, or we'd have hockey. Things have been very busy, but now, at least for me, things are starting to die down a little bit, so now we have more time to make videos and episodes. So from now on out, there will be episodes posted each week, whether it's with me, Carter, or just anyone. We're going to get an episode out somehow, some way. We're going to stick to that now. But anyways, there is some things we got to discuss in regards to trades and other news and other things in this episode. So let's just get straight into it here. We're going to start off with the trades. Now, the trades happened last week, so they're a little bit outdated. I think as of today, the Lindholm trade's about over a week old. So obviously, that's outdated. But I figured that it'd be a good idea to at least go over it now, so then that way our opinions are out there and, all that good stuff. So, if you haven't seen the Lindholm trade, which I'd be pretty shocked if you haven't, the trade went as follows. The Vancouver Canucks acquired forward Elias Lindholm from the Calgary Flames in exchange for forward Andrei Kuzmenko, defenseman Hunter Brucevic, defenseman Yoni Yermo, a 2024 first-round pick, and a conditional 2024 fourth-round pick. So, I'm going to go to Carter, who's probably driving through the streets of Winnipeg right now, unsafely. Carter, what are your thoughts on this Elias Lindholm trade?
I honestly, I'm not gonna crash. All right. Fuck. Sorry. Anyways, I think that this is honestly kind of a win-win for both teams. I think, right now Calgary's in that spot where, they're not out of contention so much, but they're not, at the top. They're not in a rebuild. They're at that mediocre stage, right? So they get a first-round pick, which is huge for them to get. When you're kind of in that middle stage, especially having 2 first-round picks in that middle stage is very nice. They get a very solid, good potential player in Andrei Kuzmenko. Just really couldn't find his game this year. Last year he was pretty elite. This year just hasn't kind of stayed with that hype from the previous season. Still a great piece in that trade there. But yeah, all in all, I think that this was kind of a win-win for both teams here. At least right now, I don't see a set winner. But I really do like this move for both teams here. The Canucks are in win now mode, and Elias Lindholm is a great piece to add on that roster there.
Well, I will say this for Kuzmenko. With him, there has been talks that Rick Tocchet doesn't like him. So that's been the biggest thing that we've heard since the trade unfolded, which doesn't really surprise me. He was scratched out of the lineup a lot. And there were rumors, even in December, that he was going to get dealt, and eventually happened. But overall, a very solid win-win deal for each team. You look at Vancouver; they're trying to buy in, they're trying to get a solid top six winger, and you see Lindholm out there, who honestly, and center, not winger. I know, I just realized I said that. You see that the center market is not that strong. It isn't that strong of a market out there, so obviously it's no surprise that they go for the best guy available, and they went for the best guy available with Lindholm. It's a good deal. With Calgary, they made out pretty well with their assets. They got very solid forward Kuzmenko, as I said. Brucevic is looked at as the Adam Fox of the OHL, which is very interesting. Yermo, probably a B, C level prospect. Then a first round pick's always great no matter who has it. So definitely a win-win trade overall. If you had to give grades on the trade, Carter, like A, B, C, or D, what would you give each team?
I feel like with kind of the spot that that Calgary's in, I think they kind of made out a little bit better. So I'll go A minus for Calgary, and I'll go B plus for Vancouver, but not like a low B plus. Like I'd give them like a high B plus.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with that. I give like Calgary an A, and I give Vancouver an A minus. I think that's very fair. By the way, for the video listeners, I don't know why I have this in my hand, but we're going to use it as a microphone today. It's a hairbrush. Anyways, the other trade that happened in regards to the trade deadline was between Carter's Winnipeg Jets and the Montreal Canadiens. So the full trade goes as follows. The Winnipeg Jets acquired forward Sean Monahan from the Canadiens in exchange for a 2024 first-round pick and a conditional 2027 third-round pick. So we're going to go to Carter, who's the Jets fan, who's driving through Winnipeg right now. Carter, what are your thoughts on this Sean Monahan deal? It's not going well for you right now because they're losing to your Flyers.
We have, since the Monahan trade, we have not scored a goal. It's only been 2 games, but that's beside the point. I like it. I think that because Monahan's a winger, right?
Yep. Or no, he's a center.
Yeah.
He's a center.
He's a center? Okay, yeah. So he was going to fit in that center 2 spot, which we definitely needed. Like even with the Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's been bad this year. I'm not going to talk about him, but all I'm saying is losing him kind of sucked because we were without a number 2 center. Getting a guy like Sean Monahan as our number 2 center, I still think is a great piece. I think that he moves the puck really well. He's got a good shot. He's got great vision. I haven't watched him in Winnipeg yet, so I haven't kind of seen how he meshes with the guys because I've just been busy, and today I've been at work and now I'm driving. But I will say I do think that it's going to take him a little bit of time to find his game here, but I think, come near the end of the season, playoff time, I think coming into the final 20-ish games of the season, I think we're going to see him turn into a point-a-game guy near that final stretch there.
Yeah, I look at Monahan, and even though that you could look at this from the outside and say that, yeah, it's an overpay, it really isn't. It's a seller's market, first of all. And second of all, when Elias Lindholm got traded, I think a lot of teams saw that the center depth in this trade market was very shallow. There isn't a whole lot of centers out there to go around. So, obviously, they started calling Montreal a lot. And Winnipeg was the lucky team that got Monahan. So, I don't really blame it on that because, again, it's a seller's market. But I give huge credit to Montreal for, as a team, they pretty much when, they got Monahan, they got him for a first-round pick from Calgary. Then he comes in, plays pretty solid 2 years, got injured in the one, but played solid this year. And now they get another first-round pick for him. So they have 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years. I think that is very impressive.
Getting 2 first-round picks for a guy and you only ended up trading him away for 1 is unreal. That's just a great investment there from the Montreal Canadiens. That's a good look for them.
Yeah, they have done an incredible job at making that trade. If you had to give a grade for this trade, what would your overall grade be? For each team.
I think if I'm going off of what the Jets needed, I think that this is definitely an A minus trade for them. And then I'd probably give this an A plus, somewhere around there for Montreal, because just the context of getting a first round pick just to take him off and then trading him for 1 is just unreal. So I'd give it an A for Montreal, and I'll give it an A minus for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, overall, I'm pretty satisfied with how both teams did in that trade. Again, another what seems like a win-win trade.
Yeah.
As of then, there is no trades that have happened, but there has been some firings in the NHL that has happened. The Los Angeles Kings have fired head coach Tom McClellan. By the way, this all happened in the same day. The Monahan trade, McClellan, the Four Nations, and the Olympic stuff we'll get into in a little bit. But the Kings fired Tom McClellan after having a 3-7-5 month of January, going from a team that was looked at as a pretty solid second Pacific team, and McClellan looking like a Jack Adams winner, to a battling for a wild card spot, and now McClellan's gone. So Carter, what are your overall thoughts on the McClellan firing, and is it going to hurt or help the LA Kings?
I will be honest, I do not have a lot of thoughts on this, because I feel like he kind of started off proving that, like, this was an elite team, and then all of a sudden, these guys that he brought in just stopped producing. Like, Pierre-Luc Dubois started off the season, like, not unreal, but he started off pretty decent, and then he just fell off the face of the earth. He just did nothing. So I'm not sure what the main issue is there. I'm wondering if this also had a little bit to do if McClellan lost the locker room at all. Because in sports, that's just a big thing. Is if your coach loses the locker room, you are screwed. We saw this in the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, they were in first place, and then they fired their coach, and it was all because he just didn't have the locker room. And so I don't know if it's because the Stars weren't performing well and they got to be like, hey, well, we got to do something here, or if he just ended up losing the locker room. So I think it's going to come down to one of those two things if we ever end up finding out what it was. But I think he might have ended up losing the locker room a little bit there, because guys they were voicing their opinions out to the media about guys in the locker room there too. So as a coach, you kind of want to bring your guys together and not have them bicker at each other to the media, out to the public, because that's just not a good look for your team and not a good look for you in general there. So in my opinion, I think he might have lost the locker room, but again, that's my best Elliot Friedman impression there. Oh, Kyle Connor scored 4-1.
Yeah, I can tell. You keep looking at the car, looking at the road. You're looking just like him. Exactly. Yeah, I think a lot of it does play with the fact that he lost the room. I think that he's a good coach. He's accomplished a lot. He took an LA Kings team from a team that wasn't looked at making the playoffs in 21-22 to a pretty solid playoff team in the same season. This year, though, it does feel like he kind of lost the room a little bit. It feels like a situation with Paul Maurice in Winnipeg, where he pretty much lost the room. And sometimes that happens when a coach is in a place for long enough, which, by the way, McClellan was there since 2018. So it makes a lot of sense, or 2019, one of those years. So it makes a lot of sense how he probably did lose the locker room. So their next couple of games, it's a mixed schedule, but they have one of the easiest schedules in the NHL to end off the year. They play Edmonton the 10th, they play Buffalo the 13th, the Devils the 15th, Boston the 17th, Pittsburgh the 18th, and Columbus the 20th of February. So that's what their next 6 or so games are going to look like. So hopefully in this month of February, they turn themselves around, because they really do need it. They need to start getting these points, because teams like Seattle and Calgary are not far behind, and they are catching up. So 100%.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Moving on now, and this is news that Carter, I'm sure, is very excited about. So we'll start with the Four Nations tournament, then we'll get into the Olympic stuff. So instead of the All-Star game, which, by the way, we're not even going to talk about that. It's just so unbelievably stupid. The NHL has revealed the Four Nations Face-Off tournament to replace the All-Star game in February 2025. Some info about it here. It's going to take place from February 12th to February 20th. So basically around this time next year. There will be one Canadian host, which is Montreal, one American host, which is Boston. There will be 7 games total, 23-man rosters. There will be 3 game round robins, and then the top 2 teams will advance to a winner take all. The countries participating are USA, Canada, Sweden, and Finland. So Carter, What are your thoughts on the knockoff Olympics for 2025?
Um, so I kind of have mixed feelings on this. I'll be completely honest.
I'm the same way.
I love international play, and I love the idea of this tournament. But something about having it in the middle of this season just doesn't seem like a great idea. Because, again, guys are going to try and put all their beef and everything aside from the NHL level to try and win gold at this international tournament. Part of me is just saying, like, something could happen where, like, let's say that something happens with Connor McDavid and someone else who's like high up on Canada, right? Let's say
Yep.
I don't know. I don't even know names. So let's just say two players on Canada, something happens with them on the ice, and now they just despise each other. It's going to be hard for them to put their beef aside for an international tournament that's not the Olympics. I think the Olympics is like the perfect thing to get people to put their things aside because everybody wants to play in the Olympics. I think that is a big dream of most kids growing up, is to try and wear that crest in the Olympics. So I don't know how just a random 7 nations tournament is going to do. So I don't know. So that's kind of my mixed feelings in there. Love the idea of it. Just not sure if like some sort of NHL style beef is going to come into that. Get in there and kind of set some things off for certain teams. It's not a huge issue, but I don't know. It just, yeah, I don't know. I think
That was something that I was thinking about. Or actually, no, that was something I wasn't thinking about. Sorry. That is a good idea to bring up. One thing that I was thinking about is how weird it is that there's only the 4 teams. Like,
yeah,
why do this Olympic tournament in the middle of the season if you're not at least going to have all the countries? Now, I understand there's a thing with Russia. I totally get that. I understand, and I'm pretty sure by the time 2026 comes along, which we're 2 years removed from that, or 2 years ahead of that, or 2 years before that. Sorry, I can't.
yeah.
I could not speak English.
You're good. You're good.
We're 2 years before that, so maybe things change. But I just find it weird how the guys from the non-traditional markets like Czechia, Germany, those other places, they don't get the opportunity to play in this. It feels kind of weird to me how those guys, they get a break for about 2 weeks,
Yeah.
or about a week, not 2 weeks, and then
So
these guys have to play in it. So I don't understand that.
yeah. So my thing is that I think if they would have done like let's say a 6 or 8 team tournament in that, I think that it's going to end up taking too long.
That's true. Yeah.
So it ended up taking longer than the original All-Star week break. So they had to cut it to 4 teams. So I don't really know. I think, in my opinion, I say just keep the All-Star game. I like this 4 nations tournament. We'll see how we'll come back next year and be like, okay, well, this was definitely something. But in my eyes, just go back to the World Cup of Hockey. That was a special tournament with Team North America, Team Europe, Team Canada, like all that. That was a special tournament. That was something, and I think that they should try and go back to that. I know it's like kind of hard to do, but I think if you do that every 4 years in the 2-year gap in between the Olympics, I think that would work just as well.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Well, after that, the year after the 2025 Four Nations tournament, the NHL will return to the Olympics as they have agreed
About
on
time.
a deal for the NHL players to head to the Olympics for 2026 and 2030. So, the rink or the first place in 2026 is in Torino, Italy, and then 2030 is in Nice, France. So, Carter, what are your thoughts on Olympic hockey returning? I'm sure you're pretty stoked about this.
I am so excited. The last time that the NHL was in the Olympics, 2014, Sochi, I still remember that because I was in Florida during that Olympics, and pretty much like every night before I'd like head to bed or whatever, there would be some sort of like highlights of like hockey the day before, and that was just like it just something about when you're a kid and you're watching like international tournament and you're like, hey, I like watch these guys all the time and they're playing at like the biggest stage in the world. It's just something to like kind of make yourself proud of, like your NHL team as well as like the guys that you root for. Like that was kind of when I knew, like, because Blake Wheeler was on that team, and that's when I kind of knew, like, oh, this Blake Wheeler, he's actually like pretty good. And then I kind of everything like that. So I also think that, like, again, as I said, it's every kid's dream to put on, in Canada, to put on that maple leaf, for the USA to put on the blue, the red, blue, and white. It's every kid's dream to represent, their country in some way. And I think for hockey players, being able to do it at the biggest international tournaments in the world, in the Olympics, is something that, something that should have happened a long time ago. I think that they never should have left, but ultimately not up for me to decide.
Yeah,
but I am hella excited. I am hella excited.
Just a little quick scoreboard update here for you. The Jets have finally scored a goal after 7 straight periods of not scoring a goal. Kyle Connor, with 40 seconds left in the game, scored, and they get 4-1. So just
with 40 seconds? I thought he scored with 14:42. Because I got the notification.
Who knows? 14:42. I'm not sure. I didn't look.
I said it out loud, but I guess Mike might not have picked it up. I said it when it happened, but that's okay.
All right. Anywho, I am very happy that the Olympics are coming back. I actually have never seen the NHL in the Olympics. I started watching hockey in 2017, so about, what was it? The last time was 2014.
3 years.
So
3 years after.
From the last time the NHL players went to the Olympics. And to be honest, I never even really started enjoying the World Juniors until 2022. The summer of 2022 was when I finally started paying attention to it.
You're welcome.
Look right now.
Yeah, you're welcome. I put you on.
Just because, like, I don't know, I was never interested in, like, Olympic hockey or anything like that. I was never, like, really into it when I started watching hockey. But now I really enjoy the World Juniors, and I'm very excited to not only watch this nation's tournament, but also these Olympics, too, because I'm going to be really entertained to see what Team Canada and what Team USA's are going to be like, too, in the next couple of years. So, very, very excited for that. In other news, some quick news here before we end off this episode. Is Carter, I think, opening up food. The Blackhawks have been announced to be hosting the 2025 Winter Classic. The Winter Classic will be played at Wrigley Field versus the St. Louis Blues. So, Carter, what are your thoughts on this Winter Classic?
Chicago again. But it's to be expected. It's with Connor Bedard, one of the most marketable NHL stars right now. Probably outside of like anyone from Toronto. But yeah, I think it'll be a great matchup. It's definitely a rivalry matchup for sure. And who knows? Chicago is not that far away from me, so maybe I'll be there. I don't know. I gotta contemplate it, but it's not that. I've always wanted to go to an outdoor game. I've actually been to one in my life. It was the first Heritage Classic that was in Winnipeg. So I got to go to that, and but yeah, I'd love to go to a Winter Classic game. I would be sick. It'd be hard for me to spot him because he's kind of short, but that's okay. Sorry, Jack.
He's saying that he's not even on here. Yeah, I think that, like, honestly, yeah, Chicago's had like 8 outdoor games. It is what it is. I think that, like, you see the Winter Classic viewership has like been decreasing year by year, so they want to go back to an OG matchup to try and raise it up a little bit. Not too surprised there. I'm perfectly fine with it. Other news here: Mikhail Sergachev out indefinitely with a tibia and fibula a tibula and fibula fracture. Achilles. Yeah. So that's my English. But yeah, Sergachev, I feel really bad for the guy. He came back from an injury last night and then got injured, so it really stings to see that from a solid defenseman like Sergachev. In other news, I don't believe a lot has happened since then. Matthias Samuelson's out for the season with an upper body injury. Brendan Dillon was suspended 3 games for an illegal check to the head on Noel Acciari.
That was wild.
Yeah.
That was wild.
What are your wild because like it's too many or too little games?
The fact he got suspended at all.
Really?
I am actually still in shock by that. Because here's the thing. It's the fact that, like, was it a hit to the head? Yes. Was it avoidable? Yes. Because Noel Acciari decided to skate head down and Dylan braces for it. It's not like, I don't know. I think it looked worse than it actually was. Noel Acciari's he's got to keep his head up. Like, I feel like the NHL has become a league where you can keep your head down again. And the guys who are smart are going to go and take your head off because that's how the NHL is supposed to be. So, in my opinion, it shouldn't have even been a suspension. I think Acciari should have kept his head up a bit.
It's definitely an argument you can make for sure. Anyways, that's all I got. That's all we got for this episode. There are a few things I want to say. We made an oath at the beginning of 2024 to be more consistent. Well, we definitely haven't been through the first month. Only 1 episode, so that's rough. From now on, I am making a promise to all of you, and I will post this everywhere. We are going to upload 1 episode per week, whether or not it's just me, or it's Carter and Jack, or it's me and Carter, or it's me and Jack, or it's me and some random people.
Or it's just me.
Or it's just Carter. Either way, we're going to get an episode up each week. Whether it's talking about news or trade deadline stuff, or it's all 3 of us, none of us, we're going to get an episode out every single week. I am making that promise to you guys. We are going to try and do that for this 23-24 season because we want to find consistency. We want our fans to actually have podcasts to listen to. So definitely that is something we are going to do through the rest of this year. So yeah, that does it for this episode. We got nothing else here. Carter's got to go into hockey and score 15 goals.
I still have an hour. Like I'm literally just gonna sit here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to contemplate if I should like go inside and get food, but I'm not super hungry. But like, I don't know. I don't want to sit in my car for a half hour before I go in.
I feel you. Anyways, that will do it for this episode. Thank you all very much for listening or watching. Next episode will be next week. We'll go into some more trade deadline related stuff, and maybe some trades will happen by then. Or maybe we'll have some guests on. Who knows? Anyways, thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Adios.